The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, which was the first thing that felt wrong. My son Travis never called that late. He barely called at all anymore, not since he'd married Rachel 4 years ago and moved to the new development on the east side of town. When we did talk, it was Sunday afternoons, scheduled and brief, the kind of conversation where everyone says the right things and nobody means much of anything. So when I saw his name light up my phone screen nearly at midnight, I knew something had shifted. "Travis?" I answered, sitting up in bed. My wife Linda stirred beside me, her reading glasses still perched on her nose, a mystery novel open across her chest. "Dad, hey. Sorry about the time." His voice sounded compressed, like he was speaking through a tunnel. "I wanted to let you know before you heard it somewhere else. Rachel and I are separating." I waited. Linda was awake now, watching me with that particular intensity she reserves for family emergencies and weather forecasts that mention tornadoes. "Separating," I repeated. "Yeah. It's been coming for a while. We grew apart, you know? Different directions. It happens." The words came out too smooth, too practiced. Travis worked in commercial real estate, showing properties to investors and small business owners. He knew how to sell a story. This one had been rehearsed. "Where's Rachel now?" I asked. A pause, just a beat too long. "She's staying with some friends, taking some time to figure things out. We agreed it was best to have space." "What friends?" "Just friends from her support group. You don't know them." Rachel had multiple sclerosis. She'd been diagnosed 2 years into their marriage, right around the time Travis got his promotion and they bought the house. The disease had progressed faster than anyone expected. Last time I saw her 3 months ago at Easter, she'd been using a walker and had tremors in her hands that made it hard to hold a fork. "She's mobile enough to stay with friends?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "She's managing. Look, Dad, it's late. I just wanted to tell you directly instead of having you find out through the grapevine. We're both adults. We're handling it." "Have you told your mother?" Another pause. "Not yet. I'll call her tomorrow. You can tell Linda if you want. I'm tired, Dad. It's been a long day." "I'm sure it has been." Something in my tone must have registered because he went quiet. Then, "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just acknowledging that ending a marriage is exhausting work." "Right. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later." He hung up before I could respond. Linda sat up fully, pulling off her glasses. "What did he do?" "He says he and Rachel are separating." "Bullshit." My wife doesn't swear often. When she does, it means she stopped being polite and started being accurate. That's what he said. "Where is she?" "With friends, apparently. From her support group." Linda reached for her own phone on the nightstand, fingers already moving across the screen. She and Rachel had stayed in touch more than Travis probably knew. Linda had a way of maintaining connections that looked casual, but ran deep. "Rachel doesn't have friends from a support group," Linda said, scrolling. "She stopped going to the MS support meetings 8 months ago because Travis said they were too depressing. She told me he wanted her to stay positive and focus on getting better, not sitting around with other sick people." Her fingers stopped moving. Her last text to me was Sunday afternoon. She was asking if I had a recipe for that lemon chicken I made last Christmas. She wanted to try making it for Travis. "Did you send it?" "Yes." She thanked me, said she'd let me know how it turned out. Linda looked up at me, her face gone hard. "That was 3 days ago, Daniel. 3 days, and now suddenly she's left him and moved in with friends she doesn't have?" I got out of bed and walked to the window. Our house sits on 2 acres at the edge of town, surrounded by oak trees that are older than the state highway. Beyond our property line, there's nothing but forest for miles, part of the Shawnee National Forest that stretches across southern Illinois like a green scar. The moon was nearly full, bright enough to cast shadows. "Maybe she did leave him," I said, though I didn't believe it. "Maybe she finally had enough." "Of what? Being sick? She didn't choose MS, Daniel. And she loved him." She actually loved him. God knows why. I turned back to face her. You never liked Travis much. I liked him fine until he married someone vulnerable, and then started treating her like an inconvenience. Linda set her phone down with more force than necessary. Call him back. Ask to speak to Rachel directly. He'll just say she's asleep or doesn't want to talk. Then call her cell. He'll say she changed her number or lost her phone or any one of a dozen things that sound plausible enough that I can't prove otherwise. Linda stood up, wrapping her robe around herself. So what do we do? We wait until morning. Then we drive over there and knock on the door. And if he doesn't answer? Then we start making phone calls. She nodded slowly, but I could see the worry working behind her eyes. Linda had grown up with 3 brothers and no patience for liars. She could smell dishonesty the way other people smell smoke. There's something else, she said. Something you're not saying. I hesitated. The thing about being married for 28 years is that lying becomes pointless. She knows my tells better than I do. When he said Rachel was staying with friends, his voice changed, just for a second, like he was reading from a script and almost missed his line. You think he's lying about where she is. I think he's lying about something. Linda walked over to stand beside me at the window. Outside, the trees swayed in a wind I couldn't hear through the glass. Somewhere in that darkness, owls were hunting and deer were moving through the underbrush, following paths worn into the earth over centuries. If he hurt her, Linda said quietly, if he did something to that girl. He wouldn't. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. Travis had always been ambitious, always focused on the next achievement, the next promotion, the next rung up whatever ladder he was climbing. A sick wife didn't fit that trajectory. She was weight he hadn't planned on carrying. People are capable of terrible things when they feel trapped, Linda said. You know that better than anyone. She was right. I'd spent 30 years assessing risk for insurance companies, evaluating claims and investigating fraud. I'd seen ordinary people do extraordinary damage when they felt cornered. I'd seen parents fake injuries to collect settlements. I'd seen business partners burn down buildings. I'd seen a woman poison her husband slowly over 6 months because divorce was too expensive and life insurance was cheaper. People are capable of anything when they decide the cost of decency is too high. I pulled out my phone and opened the tracking app I'd forgotten I even had. Linda and I had set it up years ago, back when Travis was in high school, and we wanted to know he'd gotten home safe after football games. We'd never removed him from the family plan. His location showed him at home, in the house he shared with Rachel. The blue dot pulsed steadily on the map. He's there, I said, showing Linda the screen. But is she? I opened a different app, one I liked even less. Rachel had been added to our family cell phone plan 2 years ago when money got tight, and Travis was trying to reduce expenses. He'd said it would save them $60 a month. I'd agreed because it seemed harmless. Now I pulled up her phone's location. Nothing. Either it was turned off, or it was somewhere without service, or it no longer existed. Her phone's not on the network, I said. Linda's face went pale. Call the police. And tell them what? That my son says his wife left him and I don't believe him? That her phone is off? It's something. It's nothing. Not yet. We need more than a bad feeling. She grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in hard enough to hurt. Daniel, if something happened to her and we waited, we're not waiting. We're being smart. I pulled up my contacts and found the number for Travis's neighbor, a guy named Bill Hendricks, who'd helped him install a fence last summer. I'm going to call Bill. I'm going to ask if he's seen Rachel lately. Natural question, concerned father. Nothing accusatory. It's almost midnight. Then I'll apologize for the late hour. I hit dial before I could second-guess myself. Bill answered on the 4th ring, his voice thick with sleep. Daniel, that you? Sorry to wake you, Bill. Family thing. Quick question. Have you seen Rachel in the last few days? Rachel? Travis's wife? Yeah. A pause while he processed. No, actually. Not for a week or so. Maybe longer. Why? Just trying to get in touch with her. She's not answering her phone. Huh. Well, Travis has been around. I saw him loading stuff into his car yesterday morning. Thought maybe they were going on a trip. What kind of stuff? Bags, suitcases. I didn't pay that much attention, just waved as I was leaving for work. Did you see Rachel? No. But then, I don't see her much these days anyway. She doesn't come outside like she used to. Because she couldn't, I thought. Because walking had become difficult, and then painful, and then nearly impossible. Thanks, Bill. Sorry again for the late call. No problem. Everything okay? Yeah, just family stuff. Go back to sleep. I hung up and looked at Linda. He was loading suitcases yesterday morning, I said. Leaving her or moving her? I don't know. Linda sat back down on the bed, her hands clasped in her lap. She looked small suddenly, smaller than I'd seen her in years. What do we do? She asked again. We drive over there right now. We knock on the door. We ask to see her. And if he won't let us in? Then we call the police and let them ask. I got dressed quickly, pulling on jeans and a sweater. Linda did the same, moving with the kind of silent efficiency she uses when she's too angry to speak. We were in the car within 5 minutes, backing out of the driveway while the clock on the dashboard read 12:14 a.m. The drive to Travis's house took 23 minutes. The roads were empty, just yellow lines and darkness and the occasional pair of animal eyes reflecting our headlights. Linda sat beside me with her phone in her lap, refreshing Rachel's location every 30 seconds as if she might suddenly reappear on the map. She didn't. Travis lived in Maple Ridge, a development built 5 years ago on what used to be farmland. The houses all looked the same, 2-story colonials with vinyl siding and 2-car garages, lawns that stayed green because of invisible sprinkler systems, and quarterly treatments from ChemLawn. The kind of place where people moved to prove they'd made it, even if making it meant 30 years of mortgage payments and property taxes that increased every time the school board needed new football uniforms. His house was dark when we pulled up. No lights in the windows, no car in the driveway. He's not here, Linda said. I checked the tracking app again. According to the phone, Travis was right in front of us, but the house was empty and silent. His phone's here, I said. He's not. We got out of the car and approached the front door. I rang the bell and waited. No answer. Rang it again. Nothing. Linda tried the handle. Locked. Should we look around? She asked. I was about to answer when headlights swept across us from behind. We turned as a car pulled into the driveway, stopping a few feet away. The engine cut off and Travis stepped out. He looked tired. No, not tired. Exhausted. His shirt was wrinkled and there were dark circles under his eyes that made him look older than 32. He stared at us for a long moment before speaking. What are you doing here? Looking for Rachel, I said. I told you, she's with friends. Which friends? Dad. Which friends, Travis? Names, addresses, phone numbers. He rubbed his face with both hands. It's none of your business. She's my daughter-in-law. That makes it my business. She's my wife, and she made her choice. She wanted space. I'm giving her space. Linda stepped forward. Let us see her. She's not here. Then where is she? With friends. You're lying. The word hung in the air between them. Travis's expression shifted, something ugly flickering across his features before he forced it back down. I'm not doing this with you, he said. It's late. You need to leave. Not until we see Rachel, Linda said. She doesn't want to see you. She doesn't want to see anyone. That's the whole point of space. I moved closer to him, close enough that he had to either step back or hold his ground. He held his ground, but barely. Where were you just now? I asked. Your phone says you're here, but you weren't here. Where were you? That's none of your business either. Everything about this is my business. When you call me at midnight to tell me your marriage is over, when your wife disappears off the grid, when you can't give me a straight answer about where she is, that all becomes my business. She didn't disappear. She left. People leave. It happens. Not like this. Like what? Without her medication. Without her phone. Without telling anyone. Travis went very still. How do you know she doesn't have her medication? It was the wrong question to ask, and we both knew it. The right question would have been, she has her medication? Or, what makes you think she doesn't? But instead, he'd confirmed that the medication was an issue, something to worry about. I'd caught him. Because she has MS, I said quietly. Because she needs daily medication to manage her symptoms. Because going without it for even a few days could land her in the hospital. And because if she really left you voluntarily, she would have taken it with her. He opened his mouth, closed it again. For just a second, I saw something like fear move across his face. She has her medication, he said finally. I made sure she took it with her. Then where is she, Travis? If everything's fine, if this is just a normal separation, then where is she right now? I told you. Tell me again. Tell me exactly where Rachel is at this moment. Give me an address, a name, something I can verify. He looked at me, then at Linda, then back at me. I watched him calculate, watched him try to find the right lie, the one that would get us to leave. I don't have to answer to you, he said finally. No, I agreed, but you'll have to answer to someone. If not me, then the police. If not the police, then yourself. But you will answer, Travis, one way or another. He stepped around us and unlocked his front door. Go home, Dad. This isn't your problem. Everything you do is my problem. I'm your father. Then act like it, and trust me. I would if you gave me a reason to. He went inside and closed the door. Linda and I stood in the driveway, staring at the dark house. He's lying, she said. I know. What did he do? I don't know, but we're going to find out. We got back in the car, but I didn't start the engine right away. I sat there, hands on the wheel, thinking about the way Travis had looked when I'd mentioned the medication. The flash of fear, the pause before he lied. He's scared, I said. Good. No, not good. People do stupid things when they're scared. Dangerous things. Linda's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her face went white. What? I asked. She turned the phone so I could see. It was a news alert, local station, published 4 minutes ago. Woman found in Shawnee Forest. Condition critical. I grabbed the phone and read the brief article. A woman, identity not yet released, had been found by hikers in a remote area of the national forest. She was alive, but unresponsive, suffering from exposure and dehydration. She'd been transported to Regional Medical Center. It could be anyone, Linda said, but her voice shook. It could be. We should go to the hospital. And say what? We're looking for our daughter-in-law who may or may not have been dumped in the woods by our son. Yes, exactly that. I looked back at Travis's house. The lights were still off. Either he was sitting in the dark or he'd gone out the back door. He knows, I said. What? Look at the timing. He calls us at midnight to establish a story about Rachel leaving him. Less than an hour later, she's found. He knew she was out there. He knew someone would find her eventually. He was getting ahead of it. Linda's hands were shaking. Start the car. I did. We drove to Regional Medical Center in silence, the news alert still glowing on Linda's phone screen. The hospital was on the north side of town, a sprawling complex of beige buildings and parking structures that always smelled like antiseptic and fear. I approached the desk. We're looking for information about a woman who was brought in tonight, found in the forest. The receptionist, A middle-aged woman with purple scrubs and a name tag that read Denise looked up from her computer. "Are you family?" "We might be. We're trying to locate our daughter-in-law, Rachel Hale. She's been missing." "How long has she been missing?" "We're not sure. A few days, maybe. She has MS. She needs medication." Denise's expression shifted slightly, something like pity crossing her features. "Let me check." She typed for a moment, then picked up a phone and spoke quietly to someone I couldn't see. After a minute, she hung up and looked at me. "The woman who was brought in tonight hasn't been identified yet. She wasn't carrying ID. But a nurse is going to come talk to you. Just wait here." We sat down in the molded plastic chairs and waited. Linda gripped my hand so hard her knuckles went white. Around us, the hospital hummed and beeped and whispered the way hospitals do, all machinery and suffering and fluorescent light. A nurse appeared after what felt like hours but was probably 10 minutes. She was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a tired smile. "Mr. and Mrs. Hale?" We stood. "Yes." "I'm Amy. I'm one of the nurses who treated the woman brought in tonight. I understand you're looking for your daughter-in-law." "Yes. Rachel Hale. She's 30 years old, about 5'4", brown hair, hazel eyes. She has MS." Amy nodded slowly. "I can't confirm identity without proper documentation, but I can tell you that the woman we treated tonight has MS. She was severely dehydrated and hypothermic. She'd been outside for at least 48 hours, possibly longer." Linda made a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. "Can we see her?" I asked. "She's sedated right now. The doctor wants her stable before she has visitors. But if you can bring documentation proving relationship, we can arrange for you to identify her formally in the morning." "Is she going to be okay?" Amy hesitated. "She's alive. That's the important thing. She's alive, and we found her in time. But she went through something traumatic. The physical recovery will take time, and the psychological recovery might take longer." "Someone left her out there," Linda said. "Someone left her to die." "We don't know the circumstances yet," Amy said carefully. "The police will investigate once she's conscious and able to give a statement." "It was her husband," Linda said. "It was my son." Amy's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Like I said, the police will investigate. For now, the focus is on her recovery." She looked at me. "Go home, get some rest. Bring documentation in the morning and we'll let you see her. Okay?" We nodded and thanked her and walked back out into the night. The air felt colder than before, or maybe I was just feeling what Rachel had felt, alone in the dark woods with no phone and no medication and no hope. Linda cried in the car. Not loud, just quiet tears that ran down her face and dripped onto her coat. I drove home with one hand on the wheel and one hand on her knee, not saying anything because there was nothing to say that would make this better. When we got home, I made coffee. Neither of us wanted, and we sat at the kitchen table while the clock ticked toward 3 in the morning. Linda's phone sat between us, face up, waiting for a call that didn't come. "We should have known," she said finally. "There was no way to know." "I should have known." She told me things, little things, the way he'd get impatient with her, the way he'd act like her illness was an inconvenience. I should have seen it. You can't predict something like this. Nobody can. He's our son, Daniel. We raised him. We taught him right from wrong, and he left a disabled woman in the woods to die. The words hung between us like a physical thing, too horrible to acknowledge, but too true to deny. What else could it be? Abandonment. Making her someone else's problem. Letting nature make the decision he couldn't make himself. That's the same as murder. Maybe. But it's different enough that he could live with it. He could tell himself he just left her there. He didn't hurt her. He just stopped helping. Linda looked at me with red eyes. What do we do? We wait until morning. We go to the hospital. We confirm it's Rachel. Then we call the police, and we tell them everything we know. And Travis? Travis is going to answer for what he did. How? I didn't answer right away. I was thinking about Travis as a child, the way he'd been before ambition got its hooks in him. Smart and curious, and occasionally cruel in the thoughtless way children are cruel, stepping on ant hills and pulling wings off flies. He'd grown out of it, I'd thought. He'd learned empathy and kindness and all the things parents hope to teach. But maybe he'd just learned to hide it better. I don't know yet, I said finally. But he will answer. I'll make sure of it. Linda reached across the table and took my hand. Promise me something. What? Promise me you won't do anything stupid. I promise. I mean it, Daniel. Don't do anything that makes you as bad as him. I won't. But even as I said it, I felt something cold settle in my chest, something hard and patient and utterly without mercy. Travis had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. He'd done something unforgivable, and I was going to make him understand exactly what that cost. The sun came up at 6:47 a.m., pale light filtering through the kitchen windows. Neither of us had slept. We'd sat at the table drinking coffee and not talking, just waiting for morning to arrive so we could start moving again. At 7:30, we got in the car and drove back to the hospital with Rachel's birth certificate and marriage license, documents I'd kept filed in the home office for reasons I couldn't quite remember but was grateful for now. The hospital was different in daylight, busier, louder, more aggressively alive. We found Denise still at the reception desk, either working a double shift or back for another day. She recognized us immediately. Mr. and Mrs. Hale, I'll let them know you're here. We waited again, 10 minutes this time. A different nurse appeared, older, with gray hair and the calm competence of someone who'd seen everything twice. I'm Barbara, she said. Amy told me you might be back. You brought documentation? I handed her the papers. She looked them over, nodded, and handed them back. The woman we brought in last night is Rachel Ann Hale. I can confirm that now. She's awake and stable. The police have already been here to take a preliminary statement. Can we see her? Linda asked. For a few minutes. She's very weak, and she's been through a trauma. Don't expect long conversations. She led us down a corridor and through a set of double doors into the ICU. Rachel was in a room at the end, connected to monitors and IVs, her face so pale she looked like a ghost of herself. Her eyes opened when we walked in. She looked at us for a long moment, then started crying. Linda went to her, carefully, mindfully, wrapping her arms around Rachel's frail shoulders. I stood at the foot of the bed, watching my daughter-in-law cry the way children cry, helpless and broken and alone. We're here, Linda whispered. We're here. You're safe now. Rachel tried to speak but couldn't. She just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Don't talk, I said. You don't have to talk. We know. She looked at me and mouthed 2 words. Travis did this. I nodded. I know. He left me. I know. No phone, no medicine. He took everything. We know, Linda said, her voice breaking. We know what he did. A police officer appeared in the doorway, a young woman in uniform with a notepad in her hand. Mr. and Mrs. Hale, I'm Officer Brennan. I need to ask you some questions if you have a minute. We stepped out into the hall. Officer Brennan was efficient and thorough, taking down everything we told her about Travis's late-night call, his evasiveness, the timeline, the missing phone, and medication. We've already issued a warrant for his arrest, she said. Attempted murder, reckless endangerment, domestic violence. He's not at his residence. Do you know where he might go? No, I said. He doesn't have family besides us. His mother's in Arizona. She wouldn't hide him. We'll find him, Brennan said. People like him always turn up. After she left, we went back to Rachel's room. She was asleep again, exhausted from the effort of being awake. We sat with her for an hour, not talking, just being present. When we finally left the hospital, it was almost noon. The day was gray and cold, the kind of November morning that makes you remember winter is coming and won't be kind. Linda's phone rang as we were getting in the car. She looked at the screen and her face hardened. "It's Travis," she answered on speaker. "Where are you? I need to talk to Dad." His voice sounded strange, tight and scared. "I'm here," I said. "What do you want?" "I need you to listen to me. I need you to understand." "Understand what? That you left your wife to die in the woods?" Silence. Then, "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" "I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be her caretaker. I couldn't watch her get worse. I needed out." "So you left her in the forest?" "I thought someone would find her. I thought she'd be okay until someone found her." "You thought wrong." I know that now. But I didn't mean for her to get hurt. I just wanted her to be someone else's problem. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. Not someone else's responsibility. Someone else's problem. "Where are you?" I asked. "I can't tell you that." "The police are looking for you." "I know." "You need to turn yourself in." "I can't do that either." "Travis, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry I disappointed you, but I'm not going to prison for trying to save my own life." Linda looked at me, her face pale. "He's running." "Yes. They'll catch him. Eventually." "What do we do until then?" I started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. The streets were busy with lunch traffic, people going about their ordinary Wednesday, unaware that somewhere nearby a man was running from what he'd done. "We wait," I said, "and we make sure Rachel has everything she needs, and we prepare for what comes next." "What comes next?" I didn't answer. I was thinking about Travis's voice on the phone, the fear underneath the words. He was scared, but not sorry. Not really. He was sorry he'd been caught, sorry his escape route had failed, sorry the consequences had found him. But he wasn't sorry for what he'd done. And that meant this wasn't over. Not by a long way. While you're here, hit the hype button, don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? The flash drive contained 47 files, text messages, voice memos, spreadsheets calculating costs and timelines, even a crude map of the Shawnee Forest with the ravine marked in red. Travis had documented everything, treating Rachel's abandonment like a business project that required planning and metrics. I spent Friday morning going through it all, making notes, building a timeline that showed exactly when and how Travis had decided to dispose of his wife. Linda sat beside me at the kitchen table, reading over my shoulder, her face getting paler with each new revelation. "He researched hypothermia," she said, pointing at one of the documents. "He wanted to know exactly how long it would take for her to die from exposure." 2 to 3 days, I said, reading the notes, assuming she couldn't find water or shelter. Jesus Christ. He didn't want murder. He wanted nature to do it for him. Cleaner that way. Less guilt. How do you just decide your wife is disposable? The same way companies decide employees are disposable. Cost-benefit analysis. Rachel's care was expensive. The marriage was failing. Starting over with someone new was cheaper than paying for her medical bills. That's sociopathic. Yes. I kept reading. One file contained a list of Emily's contributions to the plan. Practical suggestions about the best time of day to move Rachel, which trails had the least foot traffic, how to avoid the trailhead camera. She'd been more than a willing accomplice. She'd been a strategic partner. Another file made my stomach turn. It was a document titled After, with a bullet-pointed list of what Travis planned to do once Rachel was gone. File for divorce, abandonment, sell the house, move to a larger city, Chicago, Indianapolis, start dating openly, wait 6 months for appearances. Emily? Revisit after 1 year. "I'm giving this to the prosecutor," I said. "All of it, they need to see this." "The police already have the original," Linda reminded me. "I know, but I want to make sure the prosecutor understands what they're dealing with. Travis is going to hire a good lawyer. They're going to try to paint this as a moment of weakness, a man overwhelmed by caregiver stress. These files prove it was nothing like that. What if they won't talk to you? They'll talk to me. They always need family impact statements. I'll just be providing mine early. I called the DA's office and explained who I was. The receptionist transferred me to an assistant prosecutor named Sarah Klein, who listened patiently as I described what I had. "I'd like to see those files," she said. "Can you come to my office this afternoon?" "Yes." 3 o'clock. Ask for me at the front desk." She hung up. I looked at Linda. "We have 3 hours." "To do what?" "To visit someone." "Who?" "Diane Saunders, Travis's neighbor. She's been watching him for weeks. If anyone knows about other people in his life who might have known what he was planning, it's her." We drove to Travis's neighborhood for what I hoped would be the last time. The houses looked different now, less like symbols of achievement and more like what they were, boxes where people kept their secrets. Diane's house was to the north of Travis's, separated by a narrow strip of grass that passed for a property line. Her car was in the driveway, the same old Corolla I'd seen at the diner. She answered on the second knock, opening the door just wide enough to see who it was. When she recognized me, her expression shifted from wariness to something like relief. "Mr. Hale." "Sorry to bother you. Do you have a few minutes?" "Come in." Her house was small and cluttered in the way houses get cluttered when someone lives alone and stops caring what others think. Books everywhere, stacked on tables and floors. Plants in windows that looked like they barely survived. The kind of place that felt lived in, but lonely. "Coffee?" she offered. "No, thank you. We won't take much of your time." We sat in her living room, Linda and I on a worn couch, Diane in an armchair that looked older than she was. "I heard they arrested Travis," Diane said, "and the woman who helped him." "Emily Morrison, yes. I testified already. Yesterday. The police wanted me to go through my notes again, make sure I hadn't missed anything." "Did you miss anything?" She hesitated. "Maybe. I don't know. There was someone else." "Someone else?" "In the weeks before Travis took Rachel to the forest, I saw another man at the house. Late at night, 2 or 3 times. What did he look like?" "Tall. Business clothes. Nice car. Black BMW. He'd come over around midnight, stay for an hour or 2, then leave. I assumed it was a friend or colleague." "Did you tell the police?" "Yes. They're trying to identify him from my description and the security camera footage from the neighborhood entrance." "What were they doing? Travis and this other man?" "Talking. On the back porch mostly. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the body language looked intense. Serious. Like they were planning something. Maybe. Or arguing. I couldn't tell." Linda leaned forward. "Did you ever see this man interact with Rachel?" "No. He always came when she was already asleep, or at least when the house was dark. I don't think she knew he was there." "When was the last time you saw him?" "The night before Travis took Rachel to the forest. He came over at 11 p.m., stayed until after 1. When he left, he and Travis stood in the driveway talking for a long time. I remember because it was cold that night, and they just stood there, breath visible, not seeming to feel it." "And you told all this to the police?" "Yes. They asked me to call if I remembered anything else." She looked at me with worried eyes. "Is it important?" "I don't know. Maybe Travis was asking for advice. Maybe he was looking for someone to talk him out of it. Or maybe he was looking for someone to help him justify it," Linda said quietly. We thanked Diane and left. In the car, Linda said, "There's more to this than we know." "Yes." "What do we do?" "We go to the prosecutor's office. We give them everything. And we hope they can piece together the rest." Sarah Klein was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with the particular intensity of someone who'd chosen to prosecute violent crimes and hadn't yet been ground down by it. Her office was small and overwhelmed with case files, but she cleared space for us and listened as I walked through the flash drive contents. "This is extraordinary," she said when I finished. "This level of premeditation is rare. Most domestic violence cases are impulse crimes, anger that escalates too quickly. This is the opposite. Will it help convict him? Help? This is the whole case. With this and Rachel's testimony, we can prove attempted murder in the first degree. He won't walk." "What kind of sentence?" "If we go to trial and win, 25 years minimum, possibly life." "And Emily?" "Same. She was an equal participant. The fact that she showed some remorse afterward doesn't change what she did." "There's something else," I said, and explained about the mysterious third person, the man Diane had seen visiting late at night. Klein made notes. "We're aware. We've been trying to identify him through neighborhood security footage. So far, no luck." "Why would Travis need a third person? He had Emily." "Maybe Emily wasn't enough. Maybe he needed validation from someone he respected. Or maybe this third person was the one who suggested it in the first place." She paused. "Some crimes need permission. Not legal permission, obviously, but psychological permission. Someone to tell you it's okay to do the terrible thing you're thinking about doing." "You think this third man gave Travis permission?" "I think it's possible. We'll know more once we identify him." We left her office at 4:30. The sun was already setting, winter's short days making everything feel compressed and urgent. "What now?" Linda asked. "Now we wait for the arraignment. Monday morning. I want to be there." "To see Travis?" "To see his face when he realizes what he's actually dealing with." We spent the weekend in a strange limbo. Rachel was moved out of ICU and into a regular room. Her physical therapist, a kind woman named Jessica, worked with her on regaining strength and mobility. The MS symptoms had worsened during her time in the forest, and it would take months to know how much permanent damage had been done. "She's resilient," Jessica told us on Sunday afternoon. "Physically, she'll recover most of what she lost, but mentally—" She trailed off. "Mentally what?" Linda asked. "She's having nightmares, panic attacks when she's left alone. That's normal after trauma, but it means she's going to need significant psychological support." "She'll have it," I said. "Whatever she needs." Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Linda and I drove to the courthouse at 8 a.m., early enough to get seats near the front. The courtroom filled slowly. Reporters, courthouse regulars, people whose loved ones were being arraigned on various charges. Travis was brought in at 9:15, wearing an orange jumpsuit that made him look younger and smaller than he was. His hands were cuffed in front of him. He scanned the courtroom, and his eyes found mine. He didn't look away. I tried to see remorse in his expression, some acknowledgement of what he'd done, but all I saw was fear and calculation, like he was still trying to figure out how to spin this in his favor. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The arraignment began. The charges were read: attempted murder in the first degree, aggravated domestic battery, reckless endangerment. Travis pleaded not guilty on his lawyer's advice, a thin man in an expensive suit who looked like he specialized in getting people lighter sentences than they deserved. The prosecution argued for no bail, citing flight risk and the severity of the crimes. The defense argued that Travis had no criminal record and strong ties to the community. The judge looked at Travis for a long moment. "The court finds that the defendant poses a significant risk to public safety and is a flight risk given the nature of the charges. Bail is denied. The defendant will remain in custody pending trial." Travis's face went pale. His lawyer whispered something to him that I couldn't hear. Travis nodded, but didn't speak. As they led him out of the courtroom, he looked at me again. This time his expression was different. Not fear, not calculation, hatred, pure, undiluted hatred. I met his stare without flinching. Let him hate me. Let him spend every night in his cell thinking about how his father had helped destroy him. It was better than he deserved. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. I ignored them and walked to the car. Linda followed, neither of us speaking until we were inside and driving away. I know. Does that scare you? No. Why not? Because he's in a cage where he belongs, and I'm the one who helped put him there. My phone rang. Officer Brennan. Mr. Hale. We identified the third person, the man Diane Saunders saw visiting Travis. Who is he? His name is Robert Chen. He's a life insurance broker. Travis met with him multiple times in the weeks before abandoning Rachel. The pieces clicked together in my head. Travis was trying to take out a policy on Rachel. We think so. Chen is claiming attorney-client privilege, but we're working on getting his records subpoenaed. It proves murder, not just abandonment. Exactly. This goes from attempted murder to conspiracy to commit murder for financial gain. Much harder to defend. Does Chen know Travis has been arrested? He does now. We brought him in for questioning this morning. He lawyered up immediately. Do you think he knew what Travis was planning? I think he suspected and didn't ask too many questions. That's how these things usually work. People convince themselves they don't know what they know. After she hung up, I sat in the parking lot thinking about Robert Chen. We need to talk to him, I said. The police are handling it, Linda said. The police are bound by procedures. I'm not. Daniel, you can't. I'm not going to threaten him. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm just going to make sure he understands that cooperating is in his best interest. How? By explaining to him exactly what kind of man Travis is and exactly what he helped facilitate. And if he still won't talk? Then I'll make sure his name ends up in every news report about the case. Let his business suffer. Linda looked at me with something like concern. You're changing. I know. Are you okay with that? I don't know yet. Ask me when this is over.